So I'm doing another review video for Erica Spindler's Red. Um, yeah, I read this probably about a week ago. I finished reading it. I've been really busy, so I haven't had a chance to actually review it yet. So yeah, I really liked it. Erica Spindler's generally a crime fiction writer, but she's written this other story about a small town girl who comes from an abusive background, and one day after well, I don't want to spoil the story too much, but I guess it doesn't really spoil the story. She gets raped by some kids from her school. She and her family don't support her, and her brother lies to her parents, not to help her, but actually to help the kids at school and defend those kids. She runs away, and she runs away to California and gets a job in a hairdresser, and just doing odd jobs and stuff. And it's just about her life and her being a bit fearful of people and how she doesn't open up until she meets the owner of the hairdresser's son, who is a fashion photographer. And there's this whole backstory about how the hairdresser's son is actually the son of a famous fashion photographer, but he's a love child, so the photographer won't acknowledge that he's actually his son, and so he's working really hard to sort of prove himself to Giovanni, who is the fashion photographer, and Jack is the son, because Giovanni also has another son called Carlo. So it's a bit of a rivalry between Jack and Carlo. And the character here, Becky Lynn, she's the main character who runs away from home. She gets caught up in this when she becomes a photographer's assistant for Jack, and then Carlo meets her and sees modelling potential in her, and so then he whisks her away to become a model, in his sort of way to embarrass Jack and discredit Jack. And the only reason Becky Lynn agrees to run off with Carlo sounds terrible, but join Carlo and become a model is because she's fallen in love with Jack, but Jack doesn't actually love her, and in the industry he's in, sex is a big seller. So, if you want to get a contract with a particular designer or something, it's very likely you have to bed them. And so she catches him in bed with Garnet McCall, I believe it is, who had this whole range, and it was going to be Jack's first main fashion range, which would get him higher up in the ranks of fashion photography. And so she's heartbroken, and so runs away because she wants to hurt Jack as much as she can. So she joins Carlo. I don't want to spoil the story too much from there. It gets really detailed after that. There's a little bit more about some stuff about Carlo and his relationship with Giovanni, and a little bit about, because Carlo's mother actually committed suicide, there's a little bit about how Carlo sees that and how that affects his life and how important Giovanni is to him as much as it is to Jack. I thought it was a really good read. I took probably a little over 12 hours straight to read it because I read it while I was at work, because I had the full weekend shift. So yeah, I pretty much read it in that time. It was really good. I ended up actually buying the book from work. And yeah, I'd honestly recommend it. It is great. It made me cry a couple of times. I don't know why, but I just really connected with the character of Becky Lynn. I really related to her. I don't know, there was maybe just the way she reacted to things and her character, and just something about her I really liked. It seems like a typical story of, poor country kid from, in this case it's Bend, Mississippi, runs away to Hollywood and gets ridiculously famous as a model, and stuff like that. But it's actually a lot more about how she hides her past and how she has to come to terms with it, and she has to understand and accept that that is part of the person she is. And it's a really touching story, and I really liked it, and honestly I would recommend it to anyone at all who might like a good read. I mean, it's an in-depth read, it's quite intense at times. There were a few bits that I found really intense that I couldn't actually continue reading. I had to put it down for a little bit because it was that intense, and I felt like I was definitely going to cry or bawl my eyes out. But it was really, I loved it. It was really, really good. It's an amazing book. Honestly, I'm not sure what else to say about it. It's just so good, and you really have to read it to find out. Like, I just picked it up off the shelf and thought, oh, it looks interesting. It might be a nice little read, whatever. Didn't think it would be that good, and when I actually sat down and read it, it's amazing. It is really, honestly, one of the best books I've read. Yeah. It's like I said, Erica Spindler doesn't normally write this kind of fiction, but she has for some reason, and it's quite nice. It's really, really nice. Not sure what else to say. Like I said, there are a lot of. It's a really intense book. There are bits where there's strong links to depression and suicide, and just it's really intense, but it's a really good read, and it's a really touching story. So I mean, if you feel you might not be able to read something that intense, or you're not interested in that sort of thing, then maybe this isn't the book for you. But I recommend just give it a try at least, because it is a really, really good read. I mean, I understand if some people might find it triggering and might not want to read it, that's understandable, then don't. But, like, I wouldn't recommend it for you because I really wouldn't want anything to happen to you, because you're all beautiful, amazing people. But apart from that, if you think you can handle that, definitely read it. It's really good. I highly, highly recommend it. Fast paced, it's good, it's not slow. I thought it was really good. It's an amazing, amazing book, and I'm quite happy that I own a copy. So yeah, highly recommend it, really good. I'm not going to explain the title because that's really fun and cute, how you discover why, and at first you think you discover it pretty early on or halfway through the book, but the real true meaning is hidden in the last few chapters, as a lot of things are. But yes, I highly recommend it. Grab it from anywhere you can grab it from, bookstore, online, anywhere. It is a really, really good read, and I highly suggest it. I cannot sing its praises anymore. I'm running out of any other way to tell you how amazing this book is, but it is really good, and I really highly suggest you read it. So anyway, I'm going to run off and maybe drink some tea and start looking for another job. But yeah, as my sort of parting gift to myself from the bookstore, from my work, I bought this, and I think it was one of the best things I've done in a long time because it is an amazing book, and I really highly suggest you read it. So anyway, happy reading, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I did.